I thought I would try something new for this video by combining two checks with two different custom work projects, as well as two upcoming releases, previews. And as you're viewing this video, you may wonder yourself, how can I get custom work done, or where can I buy these pieces when they become released? And of course the answer to that is to visit TerranScapes.com for information on how you can have custom work completed for you for your terrain table, or of course to see upcoming and recently released new pieces. So the first one is a check on a wall set that's to accompany the granary that was recently showed in the videos and completed. The granary is and the walls are for a Napoleonic conflict, the Battle of Robb, which I believe is in Austria, historically, if I recall. And the customer wanted the defensive walls that were attached to the granary. And during the battle, the defenders hastily assembled a series of barrels to provide a firing platform so that they could shoot over the wall. So the check here is on the archway and the entrance to this fortification. It had a square top with a stone edgework. Also, to check on the barrels, what I did is I tried to cast about 3 or 4 different styles of barrels and then paint them in some different colors so that it would add some visual variety. Some of the barrels are open topped, which I can then paint, which I will paint black or a murky color inside. I thought I could also put a little drop of resin in there to give them a nice water-filled effect. Some of the barrels are closed-topped, and there's a couple different varieties. And I also decided at that time to make a couple crates. I thought it might add a little visual interest, and so I sculpted a few crates and made some molds of those and started casting those. So the main questions that I have for this piece are, one, would there be ladders required to get up on the firing platform? Now these are not very tall. The barrels stand 25 millimeters tall. Firing platforms add another 2 millimeters to that. This is a 28 millimeter zombie from the Vampire Counts from Warhammer. So you can see that. So I would imagine you wouldn't need ladders, but I just wanted to check. It looks like the guys could probably scramble up there. Second question I had, did you have the person that this project is for a specific color for barrels that you would prefer, or does the mix look good for you? Some of them have copper banding, a little wash over them to dull them down. Some have like a silver metallic banding, and of course sort of like a black iron look. So the colors of the barrels, the density of the barrels, does this look approximately right? This density seems appropriate to me in order to create support for a firing platform, which might have been nailed together. So I just wanted to double check that that looked like an appropriate count for you. Move this out of the way here, you can see the corner there. And lastly, of course, is the firing platform itself. Now, what I've done here is let's see if I can get over it a little bit better shadow-wise. So I did planks of various widths and lengths. Since this was hastily assembled, I'm assuming they're pulling scrap board out of the granary or the nearby building. And so you can see that some of these boards are pretty large even actually compared to this, but I didn't want to use really small boards as that would take a tremendous number, and I think it would be a little bit awkward looking. So what I did was mix up some sizes, and I also decided to put the cross members on the top of it, partly because it makes it easy to just set it on barrels any old place without them tipping or whatever. And I thought it kind of added to the ramshackle look, having the planks on top. But of course, if it was better, if you wanted a more flat surface, you could always flip it over. Don't mind the barcodes on that. These are all the ends of the boards that I recently bought for this. When it's painted, you won't see those, of course. So I was thinking more of a look with those boards exposed, and testing it with the 20 millimeter model here. You know, there's plenty of places where they stand perfectly level, or even have a slight, very slight stance, and that seems fine. And also, I noticed that one of the barrels ended up just a couple millimeters taller than the other barrels. And so I thought it might be kind of nice to have the barrel open so that the boards were set around them, and then people could actually stand on the barrel as partial support, and really gives a nice visual breakup to this. So there's a few of these barrels here. There's one under this corner actually, which I need to move out. You know, another barrel over here. So just a few of those scattered around, being exposed to give you that visual variety. So that's just a check on these walls. This is the other half. When this is assembled, it's going to look something like. Get this out of the way. It's going to look something like this. So there's going to be another small building that goes here, and the granary fits in between these two sections here, with an entrance on either end. The second custom project was a request for a series of boulders to add on to hills, so that when people are playing 40K, hills can provide direct, complete line of sight blockage for vehicles behind them. The request was for a stand 2 inches wide by 4 inches long by about 2.5 inches high. The picture, which I was going to take a picture of off the computer face, was of granite boulder look. So we're talking a smoother rock surface than what I normally sculpt, which is that sort of rough, shale flaking kind of, well, vertical striation look. So I did a couple pieces to show a little variation. Now, these pieces are not 2.5 inches tall all the way across. Again, for some scale comparison, here's my zombie. But they are about 2.5 inches tall at their peaks, and these provide a 1.5 inch height as a base. This is just slightly under that, and of course you get a little thickness from the base. I wanted to put them on a base so that I could put some talus around the edges, and one of the things I noticed in the picture that the customer who's requesting this sent me was that you know, granite formations often have very tightly fitting rocks. They cleave naturally from weathering, and then those cleavages open up, so to speak, so that you know, more water and weathering action can get inside. So eventually those gaps increase. But for the most part, you have a lot of tight seams with small gaps in between. So I thought I'd try and mimic that with this, go for something slightly different style. My plan is to plaster over these and then sand them relatively smooth, so they'll have a very light, rough texture on the outside, but much smoother than the previous rocks that I've done, so that it mimics that granite weathered surface a little bit better. So questions really for this piece, for this customer, is you know, these shapes, you know, sort of closer to what you envision, and the height's appropriate, and if those look okay, move them a step forward, and we'll go from there. Actually, I probably could use another little rock right there. The new releases that will be coming out, well, since I did all these barrels and these crates for this project, I decided that the recent Games Workshop showed, Games Workshop's magazine White Dwarf showed some raid markers for like loot or barricades, and so I thought, well, what a perfect opportunity to create some of those. So here we see a very, you know, rough preview of what a nice cluster of these barrels are going to look like together with a couple crates. These are going to be ringed by spikes as shown in the White Dwarf magazine, and then of course this will be flocked and sealed. And I think these are going to look really nice, and they'll be available really as strategic markers for looting for some of those raid scenarios, or defensive barricades that people can hide behind, or just obstacles to place out on the battlefield. And I think they'll add a little nice variety, and it's a little something different that TerranScapes hasn't really put out yet. The second preview for the new release is a larger bridge. You may recall from some of the previous videos that I had created a couple bridge ideas. One of them was casting some sides and then doing some wooden planking. And really, the two that I did don't allow for full regiments of models to come across. And so it seemed appropriate that if you want something mega on the table, that you could march your whole ranked up unit, in this case of zombies coming across the table, that a larger bridge was needed. So this bridge is over 5 inches across. It's just about 5 1/4. That's what I'm aiming for, so that you could put 5 cavalry models across it. And the bridge is, oh, I forget, I want to say it's about 7 inches long or so. And so this is quite a large bridge. I did this one as a mock-up to see how it was coming along. Overall, I like the way it looks. It has a sort of interlaced pattern as the planks that I'm using aren't long enough to span it all in one, so it gives it a little bit of a stitch pattern, which is not too bad. And this will get painted up in the next week or two, and will hopefully show up on the site sometime, oh, maybe before the end of November. So I hope you've enjoyed today's preview of a couple new pieces, as well as a check on some of the custom work that I'm working on at the moment. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to go to TerranScapes and see how to contact me. Or of course, you can always contact me through YouTube. And I just want to thank everybody who's been leaving comments on all the videos. It's really important for me to get feedback from customers because it lets me know that people are enjoying the work that I'm doing and the time it takes for me to put up these videos. And that's really motivational for a very small business like myself.